Today we're going to be talking about a really, really awesome guy, Joshua. We're going to be continuing with our righteousness study. So just going through the different characters of the Bible and just going, hey, why does God think this guy is righteous? Why does this guy think he's righteous? But, just going through Joshua, whether you like it or not, you never stop learning. And for some of us, some of us have graduated school, graduated high school, graduated college. Great, but you don't graduate life. The only time you'll stop learning is when you die. And the biggest textbook you'll ever read is your life. And, today we're still reading it, hopefully. But yet, people are so quick to get out of high school, so quick to get out of university. Even for myself, when I was in high school, I was like, yo, I'm excited to get out of high school so I can be free in university. And at the same time, for us, we're like, I'm so grateful I'm in university so I can get out of university and get my own money. And for some of us who are working, I'm so excited to get out of this job and retire. We just want the next thing. We want to graduate from whatever stage we are in life, and that's who we are. And you go, great, good job. You graduated high school, great. You've graduated university, great. Now you're learning how to do taxes. Now, great, you're now going to learn how to speak to people. Great, now you're learning how to cook, but now with no teacher. The greatest teacher you'll have is probably YouTube, Google, the Bible, of course, and God. So you'll never graduate out of learning. As you grow older, the only thing you'll ever realize is the only reliable teacher you have is probably yourself. And if you don't want to learn, that's nobody. And yet we realize that God is always that professor. Your ability to succeed has always been locked behind your ability to learn. So in that sense, do you like to learn? Is it easy for you to learn new things? Are you seeking to learn? Or are you seeking to just be the same? For some of you guys here are teachers. So you know the attitudes of a bad student. In general, if you've ever done tutoring, which I think if you guys want to survive in Hong Kong, you have to have like a couple of tutoring jobs, But the signs of a bad student. They have an overall lack of interest in what you're teaching. Their parents probably want him to be there more than he wants to be there. And you're here because of the money. But the student doesn't want to change. He's just like, okay, time, 5 minutes left. Great. 1 minute left. Okay, bye. Are you, just like that, are you allergic of making an effort? Do you just want to get by? Do you have a lack of focus? When you're probably tutoring and then they're like, okay, on the phone, looking at the clock, looking at the floor, going to the bathroom. In the same way, in your learning, are you always distracted? I'd rather focus on my job. I don't want to change. I just want to get money, and that's it. Do you think you know it all? You think you're overconfident? I've gone through enough of life to know that I don't need to learn anything. I'm fine. How you learn or refuse to learn will affect who you are and where you will be. And in our seeking to be righteous, we're going to be studying out Joshua, a man who has always sought to learn. So the title of my lesson today is Joshua, a taste of training. And point number 1, a student heart will save you. In Exodus 1, verse 8 to 11. So we're going to look at, who is Joshua? Where did he start from? Exodus 1, 8 to 11. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous, and if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies. Fight against us and leave the country. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramses as store cities for Pharaoh. Joshua, like much of Israel, became a slave country within a country. So Joshua grew up as a slave. And hopefully none of us are slaves, Maybe slaves to, the work, to the boss. Okay, sure, okay. But, I'm grateful none of us are slaves. Yeah. But for a slave, the only thing they're thinking about is, can I survive? Will I be able to get enough food tomorrow? Yeah. How much work do I need today? How many wounds do I need to endure today? Because these guys were being whipped, flogged, abused. So Joshua's mind, ever since he grew up, was just that. Do you see yourself in the same way? Are you simply just like a slave, just getting by from day to day to day? I still remember, because let's be honest, Hong Kong is a pretty great city, to be honest. Yeah. I even remember one of my cousins who, worked in Japan, our favorite playground for tourist time. And yet, he stayed in Tokyo for, I think, close to a year as an English tutor. And if you guys know English, you can go pretty far. Like you can go to China and get a great job. If you stay here as an English tutor, you'll go far. And in Japan, they also need that, English tutors. So they went there for like close to a year. But he told me, it's like, honestly, after the first month, life just got boring. In a near perfect society where in the MTR, if they're late, they bow to you and they apologize. In a world where everybody sees you as higher because of your good English language, where everything is on time, perfect, nothing excites me anymore. And that's why he went back to the Philippines. In the same way, are you tired of your life? Is it still day to day a grind? Are you just getting by? And that's why I want to lift up Chi. If you guys, I think sometimes we forgot his story. Him growing up in Macau, he was able to leave Macau to go to America, to live the Chinese dream of, actually getting a degree and getting millions and millions of dollars. And he had that opportunity. He was about to become the president, the top CEO, to be able to get a great degree in Chicago. And yet he saw the ability to earn millions, and he goes, what? Why? Why do I need to continue? When his relationship is failing, when he himself has, psoriasis, which is a skin disease, he goes, I can have millions, but have a horrible relationship with my family, with my partner, with my marriage in the future. Why do I need to continue? And so he gladly gave that up and moved all the way on this side of the world to become a Christian and to help save souls. And and that was meaningful for him. Because, then he moved to Sydney, then he moved here, then he moved to China, then after that went back to Sydney. But if you look at the people he's impacted in his life, I bet you $1 million won't change a thing. Because you'll just be in your cubicle doing the same thing again and again. But this whole church is because of his faith. And we are here because of his desire to teach other people. So in the same way, are you tired of your daily grind? The biggest change in Joshua's life came when he was called to fight. Exodus 17, verse 8 to 11. So after the 10 plagues, the Israelites were then not allowed, but then forced, in a sense, to leave Egypt. And they were in the wilderness. Now it reads, the Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. So spoiler alert, the Israelites won. But you think about if you were Joshua, right? He goes, okay, I have 1 million slave guys. And Moses was like, okay, I need some people to fight. Can you go and fight them? And everybody with no formal training go, me? Why am I gonna fight? What are you gonna do? Oh, I'm just gonna stand up in the hill over there and watch. Imagine if Joshua said no. He could have. He's not being forced. But Joshua saw it as an opportunity. He's like, hey, if this guy who claimed to be from God, who split the sea, who did 10 plagues through God, then this shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. And he went and did it. Right. Yeah. But if you think about it, he went and fought and he won. So he was able to imagine his life. He was just a slave with no formal training in combat, now to beat a trained army. So he saw something more than his own life. He saw God with him. From a man fighting for himself to now fighting for his nation and then for God. And in that sense, he saw his life mean something to more than himself. He saw how much more he could be. In the same sense, isn't that us as Christians? That you stop seeing the value of your own life because God saw how valuable it is for other people's lives. I want to lift up Juju. If you guys are not familiar, Juju is a great friend of ours in right now Melbourne. But he was just before he was reached out to by the other Christians, he was a taxi driver. He was going by day to day, getting tips, trying to go by his life. And then he was met and he started studying the Bible. And if you guys grew up in Samoa, it's an island nation. You will most probably never leave that country. Your lifestyle is there. Your marriage is there. Everything, your future is in that country. Yeah. The chances for you to leave is slim to none. Not slim to none, but it's quite hard. Yeah. And yet, he became a Christian, and because of that, he stood up and goes, this is the right thing. This is the Bible. And amen, he got persecution from his family initially. And then, and after that, he went on the mission team to go and serve God, to then go from place to place to lead the Samoan church, and now who is in Melbourne serving the church there. Come on. Let's go. Come on. This allowed him to get a degree in theology, which most people in Samoa don't have a degree. Yeah. And so just from that decision, hey, I want to be a Christian, now has then affected everybody in Samoa, to now affect so many more in Melbourne. That's because one person said yes to God. Let's go. Come on. To learn is to imitate. And to imitate means you need to put yourself aside. Wow. And that is what Joshua dedicated himself to do. He goes, you know what? I don't really care about who I am anymore. This Moses character, that's the guy I want to be. Wow. And here's a barrage of scriptures. Exodus 24:13-16. Then Moses set out with Joshua his aide, and Moses went up on the mountain of God. He said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you, and anyone involved in the dispute can go to them. When Moses went up to the mountain, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For 6 days, the cloud covered the mountain, and on the seventh day, the Lord called to Moses from within the cloud. Joshua was willing to go with Moses up to the mountain of God, Mount Sinai. But can you imagine that? Joshua has dedicated himself to go, I'm going to follow this man. I'm going to learn as much as I can. Go up that mountain where there's earthquakes, lightning, thunder, where there's probably no food. Wow. Follow my old master who's probably 100 years old. Do I want to follow him? Do you have food? Probably not. Okay. I dedicate myself, okay, let's follow him. And he goes. Exodus 32, verse 15-17. Moses turned and went down to the mountain with the 2 tablets of the covenant law in his hands. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. The tablets were the work of God. The writing was the writing of God. Engraved on the tablets, when Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, there is a sound of war in the camp. So after 40 days, that's when Joshua goes, hey, God, there's something happening downstairs. Should we go? So Joshua was up on the mountain for 40 days. Wow. Joshua could have gone, oh, I'm hungry. Can I get some water? Oh, there's no water here. Okay, let me go down first. But he was willing to stay there with Moses to hear the trembling words of God. Wow. And he stayed put. Exodus 33, verse 10-11. Whenever the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance to the tent, this is after they went down, they all stood and worshipped, each at the entrance to their tents. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as one speaks to a friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide, Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent. So whenever Moses went to the tent to pray to God, guess who's there? Joshua. And I don't know about you guys if you've, went and prayed. Obviously. When you went and prayed, sometimes, you want to pray by yourself. Yeah. But Joshua's like, every time he's going to pray, I want to be next to him. So imagine him sitting there, not taking any breaks. I'm listening to him pray. I want to learn the heart of my master. And that was his heart.
Come on, let's go.
You know, are you dedicating yourself to learn? Because learning is to understand someone's heart, to understand someone's motive, to understand someone's drive.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, that is not what we are being taught today.
Yeah.
What universities teach you is the more you memorize, the better it is. And that's it. The better you memorize the alphabet, the multiplication table, the coursework, you get to graduate. But that's never been the heart. If you guys go to the original, the original forms of university through apprenticeship, that is painstaking work. You have to sit by your master to see how the detail, you live with them, you eat with them, and that's how you understand how they do their art. But for us, art is sit in a class 3 hours every day, and you get your diploma, and you're good enough. We've forgotten the heart of learning. And so because of that, we put limitations on what we learn. I want to learn as long as it fits our schedule. It fits my schedule. And that's the reason why we struggle to go to the gym. For those who has resolutions to go to the gym more. It's hard because it doesn't fit in our schedules. The value of convenience is easier to put this gym away and go, I just want to live my life. If I have an extra hour, then I'll go to the gym. And guess what? That extra hour never comes by. But it shows how much you value training and to learn. You know, I want to lift up Dante, who is now serving in our Fiji church. When he was studying the Bible, he goes, this is what is important to me. I want to figure out my life with God. I want to call off 2 weeks of work just to study the Bible so that I can become a Christian. And he goes, in that sense, I value God more than my work. And at that time, he was working in Sydney. To get work off for 2 weeks might mean that you're going to get fired. Means that you don't have enough to eat that 2 weeks. Might not be enough for your rent those 2 weeks. He goes, this is what I value, to learn from God. I can find another work later. That's not important. You know, we want to learn if it fits your values. If it doesn't, sayonara. You know, I want to learn if and only if my teacher is successful. If he's not successful, I don't want to learn from him. You know, would you go to class if you knew your professor was late? No. You need those grades. You need to pass. I mean, you know. But just because a lecturer failed to do one thing doesn't mean then you skip out on lectures. Doesn't mean you skip out on coursework. Do you have to skip your work if your boss was late to a meeting once? No, because the company pays you anyways. You wouldn't matter. You get paid. It doesn't matter what other people do. I'm going to get paid. In the same way, you know, God will use imperfect people to teach you.
Yeah, totally.
You know, are you seeing it that way? Are you still learning? Are you giving an excuse not to learn? You know, I want to learn if it's easy, if it's convenient. For some people who are using Duolingo,
Yes!
it's easy and it's convenient, but we're still not doing it. Why? Because it's just not valuable to you. You know, what has stopped your learning? What limitations are you putting there for? You know, at the end of the day, imitation is suicide, if you guys know that saying. Because in this world, to be different is the most important thing. To then imitate and be like someone else, then means your own character and your own personality is not that important enough. Well, okay, but for us Christians, good. Romans 8, verse 29, for those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. You don't want to be yourself, because you want to be like Jesus. That's the only thing that's important. You know, it's refreshing to be able to see if people recognize you as a Christian. You know, you become Christian, you go, like people around you go, who are you again? Are you sure that's you? You know, me and Emma, we were walking around Causeway Bay the other day, and she bumped into some of her, I think, primary school friends. And then, you know, Emma texts her, and this friend goes, are you sure that's still you? Christian? Now serving for God? Reading the Bible? No way. I remember who you were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You were this girl at ballet practice, all this. But to now serve God? That's crazy stuff. You know, but it's really faith building to really hear the things that Emma has done, or at least God has done through Emma. You know, to then go, grateful for Lana and the other sisters, to invite some friends over to Bible discussion. And then these friends go, hey, Emma, your English is so good. Can you please tutor me? And now to have her first, you know, tutoring session last time. And that would pay for her special. And not only that, but God allowed her parents to just say, here's some money to raise up for special so that we can go send out more people for the mission. You know, but it's the same thing as like we're imitating people before us who've served God valiantly. You know, who do you want to be like today? And for the Christians, do you still want to be like Christ? Or has it slowly been your colleague? He has savings. Oh, I want to imitate him. I want to be like my boss. Yeah, he owns the company. Yeah. You know, I want to be like my parents. Yeah. These are great, but your eyes have always been set on Jesus. What has shifted? You know, for everyone else, do you desire to be like anybody? I want to be like myself. Great, good job. For me, I've grown up 18 years of my life doing nothing as a non-Christian. I'm done trying to be like myself because I've achieved nothing. But now as a Christian, I'm like, I see Christ. And I'm like, this is the only person I want to be. Is that you? And point number 2, just wrapping things up. Encouraged by everyone or embittered by everything? You know, to learn is to lead, and to lead is a daunting future. Ecclesiastes 1 verse 18. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. So the smarter you are, sadly, the more discouraged you are. Sadly, I'm not the most smart in the room, so I'm like, yes, okay, amen. But you know, this is written by Solomon. You know, taken from the wisest king. He goes, the more I know, the more discouraged I know. Because I have more things to do. I now have to do something about it. Joshua was faced with the reality that Moses was about to die. And he was not going to live forever. He then has to take up the mantle of going, if Moses is not going to do it, who will? Guess it's me. To then lead 1 million people, 600,000 fighting people towards a land that they don't know, towards people that they don't know, with little food, with pretty much nothing else but just God. You know, to lead means to leave your own motives. You know, let's be honest. If you were Joshua, you go, why does that matter to me? I can let these 1 million people just die and live a good life. That's not my problem. He could be selfish, like, okay, if I'm going to take care of this millions of people, who will take care of my family? Who will take care about my desires? You know, maybe he was fearful. He goes, I can't be like Moses. No way. How can I lead these people? I'm not good enough. You know, yet Joshua pushed past it and to have God himself encourage him. Deuteronomy 1 verse 37 to 38. Because of you, the Lord became angry with me also and said, you shall not enter it either. This is God to Moses. But your assistant, Joshua, son of Nun, will enter it. Encourage him because he will lead Israel to inherit it. Imagine having God tell Moses to encourage Joshua. That's God divine encouragement. What if I had told you, hey, Shaw, the person you will meet tomorrow will give you a better job than you would ever imagine. Wow. To be able to imagine all these things. Imagine God saying that to you. How harder will you work? How much more will you invest in the people you meet? How much more will you give your life to them? If you knew God appointed them. You know, Moses in front of everyone lifts up Joshua. Deuteronomy 3, verse 21 to 22. At that time I commanded Joshua, you have seen with your own eyes all the Lord your God has done to these two kings. The Lord will do the same to all the kingdoms over there where you are going. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. Imagine amongst the whole people, millions of people, Moses goes, this is the guy that will help you see even greater things through God. Moses just wanted to lift him up. And isn't that our role? You know, leaders of the kingdom, the higher you go in the kingdom, or the higher you are as a Christian, the older you are, the more you are called to serve. Because it's never been about you. And that's why I want to lift up a lot of the leaders of the church. You know, if you've been in Sydney, the biggest culture thing that you'll ever have, if you want to learn what it means to serve in the church, you go and sell cookies. Yeah, that's like the most serving thing you can do. And if you guys don't know, that means, you know, getting cookies, repackaging them, and then selling and getting donations. But, you know, it's very humbling because you go, okay, as a leader, you're here to serve others. So if someone doesn't have a job, struggling, you go, hey, let's go sell. I want to go and help you out. So Emma goes the same thing. It's like, hey, younger sister, you know, one of the sisters that just got baptized. I know you're struggling. Let's go and sell together. And yeah, even for myself, I was like, oh, I do not want to do this. And so I didn't learn the tricks of the trade. So I made my own cookies. Brownies, sorry. I made my own brownies from scratch. I bought it from the supermarket and then wrapped it in Ziploc bags. It looks very sketchy. Do not do that. Do not do that. A Ziploc. So normally, you know, if you go to Starbucks and you see like the little cookies on the side, you go, wow, that looks nice. Imagine a little bit lumpier in a Ziploc bag. And then you go out in the streets, you go, hey, we're selling donations. That's a bit scary. Please don't do that. I've learned the hard way. Many people go, are you selling things that you're not supposed to sell? Yeah, exactly. So please don't do that. But I had to do that. Go, hey, I'm doing this for my brother who's having a hard time. And it's very humbling to go, people really see your heart. And you go, your product, your intention. I see your intention though. But they were willing to give. But that's what we do. You know, we go out of our way just to help people. And even selling for Anzac Day. So we've upgraded our brownies, and you know, we've made it much better. And then on Anzac Day, which is a big Memorial Day, we just go, hey, let's just go out. And it was so encouraging to see basically half the church go, I've booked out my day. I just want to do this. To raise special and to raise funds for our churches outside. For Samoa, and it was very encouraging because Paul, the one who led Fiji before, goes, you know, we need that money because I've been sleeping on the table. Sometimes I don't have a bed. Some of it we've paid for people's tuition to be able to get a degree in Samoa. Some to get a van to have a farm, to go and help people. And when I saw that, I was like, it's raining. It's raining outside that lesson. It's raining, and I need to raise money. And I went by myself, and I didn't get any money, but that really humbled me. But that's our call, to be just like Jesus, to raise others up so that they can do so much more than you can today. You know, Joshua 1, verse 1 to 6. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people, get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give you to them. To the Israelites, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life, as I was with Moses. So I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give to them. So God to Joshua goes, I'm going to be with you. You can do it. And for whatever reason, that is the same encouragement we receive today. You know, when you have your quiet time, your daily Bible reading and prayer, God is doing the same thing.
Come on.
I know learning is hard, following the Bible is difficult, but every time you open that Bible, it just goes, I believe in you. I believe in you, Jackie. I believe in you, David. You can do this. Because God saw how difficult it was to see the odds stacked up against him. And God, if he saw how difficult, if God understood how difficult it is for Joshua, at the same time, how difficult it is for you today, God will go out of his way to encourage you.
Come on.
In Joshua 1, verse 16 to 18, then they answered Joshua, whatever you have commanded us, we will do. And wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we fully obeyed Moses, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Whoever rebels against your word and does not obey it, whatever you may command them will be put to death. Only be strong and courageous. You know, it was encouraging to really see that even the Israelites, not even, especially the Israelites, were there to support Joshua. You know, and Joshua was a young leader. He didn't know how to lead 1 million people. He barely knew how to fight. He was a slave by heart. All brawn, no brains, probably. And yet you see the Israelites, all 1 million people of them. I want to dedicate my life to you. I know you're still learning, but I see your heart. And that is worth my time. You know, for us, we don't want to lead, nor do we want to learn, because it's scary. I don't want to learn something new, because then that puts expectations on me. If I learn how to cook, people ask me to cook. If I learn how to lead Bible studies, people will think I know how to lead Bible studies, so I will do Bible studies. And yet, the only thing is, just do it. Be strong and be courageous. And yet, if you surround yourself with the right people, they will motivate you to learn. You know, even for myself, to be honest, the biggest skill I've learned in the kingdom was cooking. Because literally my teacher is over there. You know, from a man who didn't know how to use a microwave, from a person that still doesn't know how to cook rice, me, I still mess it up sometimes. Yeah. From someone that barely knew how to make instant noodles. I've messed up making instant noodles. You'll be surprised. I did. But ever since I became a disciple, people trusted me. Shiny trusted me to chop the vegetables. Many sisters have trusted me to eat food that was almost inedible. I remember cooking Nikkei inedible rice that was hard. And you know, during that date, she was like, "This is really good food." It's very nice people. You know, but the truth is, like, people appreciate you learning. And that's the truth. We're afraid of learning because we expect, just like your colleagues, they will laugh at you. They'll put salt on the wounds that you've just made. Yeah, in truth, in God's kingdom, within the brothers and sisters, no. That's not who we are. And that's why, you know, one of the greatest highlights I've ever had was last year in the Austro-China conference. You know, if you guys know brothers, the only time we cry is probably in the hospital or when we see someone baptized or something else. And I was very humbled. I cried in front of the whole conference. There's a live stream. Don't rewatch that. I think. Anyways, but the reason why I cried was, and I've mentioned this before, was you see the people you've striven with for 5 years. You've seen the people who've seen you fail. You've seen the people who've, some of them I've done horrible things towards. Yet for them to be there from different parts of the world, to go, I'm here to support you on your biggest day, was the biggest thing. And that's the kingdom. You will mess up. And isn't that normal and isn't that expected? And yet in the kingdom, learning is everything. You know, it is rough to learn, you know, to learn every day, every second, every millisecond of your day, it's difficult. And yet the only other option you have is to blame everything else. Romans 12 verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is good, pleasing, and his perfect will. It doesn't call us to be conformed by the world. Some of us sit here today and go, I know the world is hopeless. I know I can't change. Injustice is normal, and bad things happen every day. And for you to go, I'm used to it. I can't change. That's who I am. God's going, no. Don't be conformed. That's how everyone in the world thinks, but that's not how I want you to think about yourself. God calls you, hey, change it. Test to see if my will for you is good. And go and do it. The conclusion today, the title of my lesson today is Joshua, a taste of training. Do you want to be trained? Do you have to go through another 10 years to go, I need to change? Or do you know today that you do need to change? Point number one, a student heart will save you. To learn every day is hard, and yet that's the expectation called to us every day. And point number two, encouraged by everyone or embittered by everyone. God knew Joshua was going to have a real hard time. And God pulled every effort to encourage him. Rather than just sit by and live life, Joshua decided to do something. The challenge for everyone today is, hey, study the Bible. Seek to know what is the one thing you need to change today to see if God's will for you is true. So get in a Bible study, and with that, to God be glory. Amen.